Pleasure to welcome to the show. It's Cam Cordova, second-year goalie at the Onondaga Community College. Cam, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Coach Damon. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Got a tradition around here on the podcast, that is. I'd love to hear the story of when you first jumped into goal. Do you remember that?
Oh, boy. When I first jumped in net, we had a coach named Coach Holzer, and the whole deal where they just pick a guy to throw in the cage because they need a player at, youth games and such.
Sure.
And
Sure.
our coach was explaining like how awesome the goalie position was. And even though nobody wanted to play it, they were saying how awesome the goalie position was. And like, you get all the girls, you get all the fame, you get all this. And my parents, from the way they described it, was that everyone was standing in line and they go, all right, who wants to play goalie? And everybody else backed up, and I was just sitting there smiling at the coach, like, I'm ready for this. I'm ready. And that was in the fourth grade. And my parents reluctantly got a little mad at me because they were like, why'd you choose a position that gets hit so much? But it paid off pretty well.
Yeah, I love it. Paid off pretty well in the sense that now you've got all the girls and you've got all the fame, right?
Maybe not.
Yeah, one day. That's funny because when I coached a youth team, I sort of did the same thing. Like, I really hyped up the goalie position because nobody really wanted to play, right? And in a certain way, you kind of got to do that, and you got to make sure, like, a part of the lacrosse goalie culture is that, like, the goalie is very well respected because they do what other people do not want to do, and that's why the goalies are the first in the handshake line, and you go get the goalie after the game, right? So there is a certain level of respect, and I don't know if I was hyping it up as much as I was explaining that. And I eventually got one kid to bite, and he was hooked. He was hooked. So sometimes as a coach, kind of like your coach did, you gotta let them know how cool the goalie position is, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely something that isn't meant for everybody, but I truly believe that when you find those guys that do step forward, that they have a little niche in it where they're like, okay, I can do this.
Yeah. And now when you first started playing, were you right away like, oh, wow, this is for me, or no? It took some warming up.
Oh, I absolutely loved it. Okay. Because at first I was playing on defense, and my parents will say this to this day, even though I don't agree with them, but they say I chose the goalie position because I don't like running. And I played defense, just like a short stick. And I was in the fourth grade, and to be honest, I really don't like running. So the goalie position ended up being a pretty good fit for me.
Yeah. I'll be honest. The temptation of not as much running was a huge draw towards being a goalie. I played probably about a half a season of college midi before I switched over to goalie full time. And it was just like, there's a lot of practices where I felt like I was on the verge of puking, right? And I'm just like, this is tough.
Yeah, my teammates can definitely tell you about my freshman year, and when we would be running sprints, my freshman year here, and we would be running sprints, and coach would be like, where's Cam? And then you just hear in the back, and they're like, oh, there he is.
Yeah, right. So yeah, you switch over to goal, and you still do like the team running, but you're not, there's a lot of drills that require like the offensive players to run, and you're just kind of making saves, and like West Jenny, right?
Yeah.
You're just making saves in that drill. Yeah. So not as much running.
Yeah. Got to do the sprints with them, though.
Got to do the team running. Got to do the sprints. Yeah, you got to do all that. So, we're still in good shape, but not running up and down the field midi shape. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, right.
I'm good for one run. I'm good for one coast to coast run.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Cool. So, where did you grow up? And then how did once you kind of started playing goalie, how'd you learn about, how do I stand? How do I make saves? How'd you learn the position?
So I grew up in Meridian, Idaho. It's about 15 minutes outside of Boise.
The lacrosse hotbed of Meridian, Idaho, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly. And so when I first learned, for probably the first couple years, it was just me learning how to do everything. I really was focused, but my main emphasis was on communication because I knew that I could communicate really well. So that was my biggest emphasis, and being loud, being there for your team, and knowing what to do. I had a couple different goalie coaches from there, just some club ball players. I had a guy from West Virginia who lived in Idaho who helped coach me. And he's the guy that really helped me with the basics of like, this is how you're supposed to stand. This is how you want to attack the ball and the way you approach it. But a lot of credit to where I think a lot of my goalie skills come from is from Ryan Laplante and Trevor Tierney. I went to a Denver camp that wasn't even meant for goalies. And in just a short span of 3 days, they taught me so much, and it just elevated my game.
I love those guys. Ryan Laplante, episode number 1 of this podcast, by the way, kicked it off with Ryan Laplante. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And then I've had Trevor Tierney on. They both presented at the Goalie Summits. So great guys. Yeah. And they definitely have like, oh man, now it's all coming together, because in that video that you put together, or you posted in the Facebook group, and I made into a little reel, which I want to talk about a little later. But one of the things you said is you did like the yes drill.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I learned that from Ryan Laplante. And I was going to ask you, did you also learn that from those guys as well? But anyway, explain that drill if you could. That'd be awesome.
So Ryan Laplante taught that to me. Essentially what the yes drill is that when you have your stick out in front of you, you have you have that invisible plane. You don't want to break the glass, by putting your stick either way. So you have that invisible plane. And essentially what it is when your body's going to react to the ball, your body's going to react when the ball breaks through that plane. And so then you have to grasp the concept that this is when you need to get your hands out, when you need to come out and explode is when it breaks that plane. And so your brain registers that you say yes every time. So it's yes.
And it's kind of like when you say yes is when you sort of fire that's kind of when you're seeing where the ball's going and your sort of first movement of unit, your top hand, your lead step, kind of first fire, right? And that would be kind of the timing. Yeah.
Exactly.
Love it. Yeah. Yeah. I'm a big fan of those verbal cues. I used to yell, I don't know if many goalies do this nowadays, but I used to yell shot. Like when the shot was coming, partly because I played basketball and like you did that a lot, like shot, like when the guy took a shot, you'd kind of yell shot in his face. But then also I went to a Johns Hopkins practice and saw Jesse Schwartzman, and he was doing it, and I'm like, well, hey, if these Hopkins D1 guys are doing it, like good enough for me, right?
Yeah, right.
So anyway, it's just some sort of verbal cue, I think, to I don't know, get your body moving and kind of just get all the pieces together. So I like that drill.
Yeah. I don't know how it works in your brain, but somehow it works, at least for me. So
yeah. And what else did they teach you? Those guys are real wide stance kind of guy, wide stance, lateral step kind of guys. Is that how you would characterize your style?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely running a flatter arc. Because in the way that they describe, to run that flatter arc, it gives you more time to react to the ball if you made a mistake. So you accidentally flinch or drop your hands a little bit, then you still have a lot more time than as if you were to step towards the ball. Oh, sorry, I just covered you with my hands. If you were to step towards the ball, and obviously you're cutting the distance from the ball coming towards you, but sometimes you might not even know where the ball is.
Yeah.
So it's good to have just that extra millisecond just to find the ball and be able to make a stop.
Yep. Love it. Did Trevor Tierney ever talk to you about his, what did he call it? Focused eyes or lazy eyes?
Yeah, a little bit. That's kind of what I believe when he was teaching me a little bit, was kind of his fundamental principle on how to actually stop a ball.
What go ahead. What did he teach you?
Essentially, from what I remember, is that you have to imagine when your eyes are relaxed, you're going to see things a little bit differently than if your eyes were just wide open, like you're so antsy about scanning for the ball. You're like, where's the ball? Where's the ball? Whereas when your eyes are relaxed, you're going to let the ball come to you.
Mm-hmm.
And essentially, when that ball comes out of the stick from a distance, it's going to look like a tiny pin. But as it gets closer, it's going to look just like a bowling ball. And so when that bowling ball comes into you, that's when you're going, yes. And then you're making that stop.
Yeah. Yeah. Trevor did his Goalie Summit presentation all about this concept. And it's kind of like, it's tough. It's one of those ones where it's like really tough to learn over Zoom, because we're talking about like eye focusing techniques. But yeah, it's not like, I mean, you're not like, like so like focused on the shooter and the ball, although you are, but like, it's just more of a relaxed eye. And the scientific studies that he was pulling up and showing say that like in that case, like when the eyes are relaxed, you can actually react quicker to an object coming towards you, which I mean, as lacrosse goalies, that's got to be extremely fascinating.
Yeah, right.
So, well, cool. Yeah. So you learned from those guys. Who else was there other like college goalies or pro goalies at the time, or even now, that you kind of enjoy watching play and have picked a few things from?
I would have to say, I would have to grant a lot of my success. His name is Marcel Reed. He's a goalie coach at the College of Idaho, a good club ball team over in Idaho. And it wasn't necessarily that he taught me everything, but that I know, but we did very well in collaborating with each other and making our own drills to help us out. And, taking off Laplante and Tierney stuff, what he knows, what we see in other goalies. We would literally study goalies all day while we were at tournaments and stuff and seeing what they're doing. So we would end up developing our own drills. And I mean, I still to this day exchange ideas with him and send him different drills that he might like, and he sends them back. It's a really great bond and partnership that we have.
That's awesome. That's awesome. What are some of the favorite drills that you've done or that you've come up
with? One of my favorites is kind of the classic, have your back turned to the shooter. And then when they shoot, come back at you. Yeah. Or you shoot and then you flip around.
Right.
I really do enjoy that one. Another one that I enjoy doing is, no stick. He'll roll the ball on the ground and all you're doing is just driving your top hand down and pushing the ball away, but it's coming at rapid fire. So you're keeping your hand down, and that's to help focus on keep driving your hand to the ground and flick that ball away. Kind of one that we like to do was for foot saves. Maybe sometimes you can't get all the way down to the ground, and just practice on kicking that ball. Essentially, like you're kicking a tree or something. Get your foot flat and make sure that the ball hits the side of your foot when you can't drop down, especially on those really low angle shots.
Yep.
Really love that one.
Yeah. Love all those ones. And watching that video too, you're a pad the feet guy, the little hop right before the shot. Yeah. Talk to me about what you feel like that does for your game.
For me, I just think it kind of keeps me poised and ready for the ball to come. Yeah. From a physical standpoint, helps me stay on my toes a little bit more. I tend to rock back on my heels a lot when I'm in net. Yeah. And so I feel like that helps me keep me on my toes more and just more poised so that I'm, not necessarily afraid of the ball. Yeah. Really. It's just kind of like almost your own little pump up and you're just boom, boom, bam, you're set. I'm ready for you.
Right.
And then it's coming at you. Yeah.
Oh, I'm such a huge advocate of that move. And I talk to like some college goalies and they're like, no, I don't do it because of X, Y, and Z. And like, even top level, like, guys I've sponsored, like D1 guys. And I'm like, oh man, you got to try it. Like I'm trying to get everyone on board because I think when you do that move, one, like it's almost nearly impossible to land in an unathletic position, right? Like it's nearly impossible to do that little jump and then like somehow be off balance or somehow like be too far forward or back or left or right or leaning. So it puts you in a great athletic position. And then, like you said, it is kind of like, you know, shots coming, like now this is the time to enter into save mode, right? So maybe you've been communicating with the defense, maybe you've been tracking the ball as now this is save mode. You know, I jump and it can, or I do a little hop, and it can even like help against flinches too, hitches too, because sometimes goalies will come in, right, and then go out, but like that move and then you attack the ball. So anyway, huge advocate of it. It sounds like you are as well.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny you mentioned the unathletic ability, and that you can't be unathletic in that position. Where when I learned about my positioning, I literally stood straight like a pencil, and then they would say, "Okay, get in a basketball position," and then I would jump in a basketball position, and then I was like, "Oh, this is how I'm supposed to stand."
Right. Yeah, I played. Did you grow up playing basketball as a kid as well?
Oh gosh, no. I am I'm not a fan. All my teammates, they like to play basketball, but I like to opt out.
Okay. But other sports or just lacrosse?
Just lacrosse.
I got it. I played no lacrosse growing up. I played basketball and other sports. And yeah, so like, it is kind of like, you know, that jump stop and that sort of move is very basketball-esque, but awesome. What would you say is your favorite part about being a lacrosse goalie, Cam?
It's really just being able to be a leader of the team that I really enjoy, and kind of that player to goalie camaraderie that you have, where no matter where you butt heads, you'll always respect each other for your respective positions, especially with that being a goalie and that you're the last line of defense. And it's just really enjoyable to see more so how you can literally use your voice in order to, you know, make something happen. And it turns out great things do happen when you use your voice and you communicate. You know, you're telling your defense to move. You can still communicate with the offense and, you know, maybe see any holes that may be going on. And it's really just a great opportunity that I encourage everyone to try this position out.
Yeah. What, you know, when I watched that video, I mean, one thing that really grabbed me is like, yeah, he does look like a leader. Like you're in there pumping up the team. Like, let me get, I couldn't tell what you say in the huddle, but like, you know, let me get something on 3, 1, 2, 3, woo. Right. So just, you know, bring in the energy, bring in the juice. You know, where did those leadership skills come from for you? And like, if there's a young goalie who's listening to this and maybe they're super shy, they want to be a leader, what sort of tips would you give them?
I would really just tell them, don't be afraid to use your voice. It's really, it's one of the most powerful tools that you can use. And the idea is that great communication for just great communication in general will not only improve like how your mental not stability, your mental growth and such. Actually, something that a college professor told me in a communications class that I think can kind of relate to this is that he told me that you can get any job in the world as long as you're a good communicator, and they'll teach you the rest. So as long as you're a good communicator, everything else will come along the way and will piece itself together.
Yeah. So how do you be a good communicator? Be loud, be confident.
Yeah.
That's the key,
be
right?
Loud, be confident in what you say. Even if it's a mistake that you make, like, you know, ball's top right and it's really top left. Don't be afraid to make those mistakes. You know, it's okay. There are miscommunications that happen, and you shouldn't get down on yourself when that does happen. You know, and just being a leader is really important, especially from the goalie position, because, you know, you're designated as the quarterback of the team because you see everything. And so you need to let your teammates know.
Yeah. I think part of good communication too, like regardless of is not so much what you say, but like how you say it as well. And, you can say like, balls top right, or come on guys, let's go, with that sort of tone. And it's just so boring. And no one I think the energy is really contagious. Right. And so when you bring the energy, when you bring the passion for the game and what we're doing out there each and every single day, I think that's a huge element of being a great communicator. And I don't know you that well. I've seen a couple of videos. And it seems like you've got that. It seems like you've got the passion and the energy for the game.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Let's talk about that. Well, not yet. We're going to tease it. All right. I'd love to hear kind of your, in high school, you're at the Onondaga Community College now. I'd love to hear what went into that decision to play lacrosse at the junior college level.
What really went into the decision was I really just knew that I had a couple D2 and D3 offers from a couple first year teams. Some good club offers. By the way, like, I think club is great. I think it's a cool option for a lot of athletes to have. And I just knew that I want to see if I can do better was the biggest thing. Can I get to a higher level other than these first year teams or programs just starting to pick up? It's a very great tool to determine where exactly your skill level is at. So that was really what went into the decision of me picking JUCO, because I'm a guy that's all about competitiveness. In high school, I would hate it when there would be guys slacking off in practice and stuff like that. And I'm just like, take this serious, like, practice makes permanent, not perfect. So as I got into JUCO, I knew that was something that I would get out of this. And so far, I haven't looked back. It's been such a great experience.
Yeah, I love it. So you have a goal of playing D1 essentially.
I'd hope so, but I mean, it's my best caliber right now that I'm looking at is D2, D3.
Got it. But a solid program, like a better, let's call it like I don't know what the right word is, but like a program that can win a championship at the D2, D3 level, like that type of school.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. I would love that.
Yeah. Awesome. And then, because when I immediately think of JUCO lacrosse, and you're the first person I've ever talked to on the podcast who's played JUCO lacrosse, some of that, these guys are out here to have a good time type of ideas come into my mind, and maybe they don't take it as seriously. And I'd love to hear firsthand kind of how your experience has been. Sounds like that's not been the case. You got a bunch of competitors.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, I can only say what my school's done. I don't know about other schools.
Right.
But I mean, we are really grinding at it. I mean, during the fall, we practiced 5 times a week. Practice 5 times a week, workout 3 times a week, and also do study table sessions with each other. So we're also working off the field. And it's really just a good opportunity because you essentially play here to get out of here, and a lot of guys are really competing for, those starting spots and playing a pivotal role on this team. So then you can get your film and you can start sending it to coaches.
Interesting. And in many ways, like, you don't have the Division I restrictions of because those guys are very, you get 20 hours a week in the fall, or you get 10 hours a week during this period. And then once you get into the season, you get, but anyway, very structured. It sounds like maybe at the JUCO level. And I know I played in the MCLA, you don't have those restrictions. And sometimes in some weeks, I mean, you go really hard.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Is there a sense of, you mentioned everyone's playing here to get out of here. Is there a sense of, do you think that creates less of a teamwork sort of mentality, more of a, I need to put my highlights on tape, or no?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely.
I mean, one of our big pillars here is family. That's one thing, you know, that it's even written in our locker room wall: arrive as strangers, leave as brothers. And it's just one of those things where, like, you have such a short amount of time, but you all are there for one common goal, and it's to win a national championship. And when you do that all together, I mean, you have to come together to win a national championship. You can't just be selfish to yourself and thinking that you're going to make it out all on your own. You need the support of coaches and your teammates
for sure
in order to make that happen.
Yeah, 100%.
So, I mean, all of us are really good with each other. You know, it's really a great experience. You wouldn't expect it, and I honestly didn't expect it when I came here, but it's kind of something that you got to see for yourself.
Yeah. Love it. A lot of times people go pick community colleges based on, you know, sort of the proximity to where they grew up. Idaho and upstate New York, very yeah. far apart. And I'm curious, you know, why you chose Onondaga Community College.
Really because it was one of the only schools that offered me outside of those D2 and D3 schools. And I knew their reputation of being a national championship caliber team. And, you know, it was really just, wow, the opportunity to play for a team that's that good. At least in my mind, JUCO, whether it could be any team, MCLA, D3, D2, D1, JUCO, I don't care what it is. If they're on that national caliber championship level, then I want to play on it.
Love it. Love it. How is the JUCO league structured? Like, is there one national champion? Is there like, how yeah. Talk to me about that.
So you're divided based on regions. So like Maryland has a region, you know, Long Island. And so us, it's for like upstate. We're designated as Region 3. Okay. So you play for your region championships. And when you win your region, then you go and you play in the national tournament.
Cool. Who and then who played like in the national tournament last year? Are some of the names like names people would know or not really?
Nassau and Howard.
Oh yeah, Nassau sounds very familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
It's a bitter rivalry between us.
Okay. Well, right now I'm team Onondaga.
That's good.
Cool. Who would you say, you know, if there's a goalie considering like who's in the situation that you're in, maybe they got a D2 offer, maybe they got a D3 offer, maybe they're thinking about playing MCLA. Is there like any advice or tips you could say about to help clarify that decision and say like, hey, the JUCO might be the best route for you?
Yeah, the best advice I would give is to what's the words? Is basically just know what you're going in there for. Essentially, you're going there to go to school and play lacrosse. You know, that's what I mean for any college program. But it's really just a matter of how are you going to fit on the team. Really, I mean, there's a lot of perspectives. You know, are you based on what it's at? Are there goalies the same class as you? You know, like, are there 7 goalies like on DU or
right?
And you know, so it's really just a opportunity thing, and whether, because we like to think at least that we compete at a high level here, and it's essentially whether you think that you can compete at that level or not, and whether you are looking for better opportunities or if you're just trying to stay in a realm of, you know, what can I do? You know, I would truly recommend it to any player, any goalie, to definitely look at the JUCO route.
Cool. Love it. I wanted to talk about, you know, the difference between Idaho and upstate New York. I imagine, you know, not many players on your team are from Idaho. I imagine. I don't know. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm going to go ahead and make an assumption there. You know, what was there? You know, was there a lot of cultural differences that you saw, or maybe not cultural differences, but just, you know, I don't know. These guys are a little bit different.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, the diversity, absolutely insane
Oh, okay.
in comparison
Yeah.
from here to New York. And I even went to the city and thought it was crazy, but it's just the diversity is definitely insane, and a lot faster pace of a lifestyle that I learned. And it's very humbling, to say the least,
Mm,
to know that you're not as big as you are in the world. You're a little bit smaller.
mm. Yeah. Love it. You're up there. Are you actually on like an Onondaga like reservation? Is the college on that, or how does that work?
It's right next to it.
Right next to it. Okay.
Right
But do
next
you
to the
have do you
reservation. Yeah.
have players on your team from who Native Americans who live on the from Onondaga?
Oh yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I would say probably 70% of our team consists
Love it.
of native guys.
Yeah, yeah. I
Um,
mean, and that's got to be
yeah,
very
and
different as well because those guys, they play having grown up with a stick since I don't know what, like age 0. They play so creative and
yeah,
they you just see moves and passes and just shots that like you don't tend to see at other levels, right?
yeah. I mean, it was absolutely insane. My first day that I arrived on campus, I went to a shoot around with those guys just to run up some mock up 4s and 5s, and they literally hit and ball tricked me, and I didn't even realize the ball went in. And I was like, did that go in? And one of the guys comes up and he's like, welcome to OCC. And I was like, oh man, I'm in for one, man.
Yeah, there you go. I love that. Any other good stories from those guys?
I mean, just a good story in itself is just watching them play.
Yeah.
They're so creative, and it's amazing to watch those guys do what they do. It's unnatural. It's any kind of word to describe it, but it's just like, holy crap, somehow the ball goes in. I mean, I had one of our attackmen, Greg Elijah Brown, my first year. We were just running clearing drills and clearing and riding, and he was just supposed to give me like a mock shot, like toss me the ball, just a pass, right? And he was right on crease when he was doing this, and I would run the clear. And like the third time we did it, he made it look like he shot the ball so hard, like just absolute crease crank right on the crease, and the ball was just floating up in the air. And I was just like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like I got so scared. And they all started laughing at me, and it was a good time.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Speaking of the creativity and the moves you just never seen, there's one clip and I'm gonna have to try and find it, but like one of the Onondaga guys, I think it's with the national team, but he's like just driving, and like he ends up doing this like roll dodge and does this like little flick pass that like no one sees. So like the two defenders that like both the defender on the ball and the slide are still like chasing him, and he's already passed it, right? And so the guy that catches the pass is wide open, steps in, 3 or 4 times, does a crow hop 3 or 4 times and just cranks it right in. And I'm like, wow, never seen that play before. So much creativity. I love watching those guys. Awesome. And now let's talk about this video. I've been teasing it. So you got mic'd up in practice, and just shot a bunch of clips. Actually, I don't know if there's much to talk about the video, but it was awesome stuff.
Yeah, I was getting ready in the locker room, and one of our team managers, he likes to do camera work for us and make us little hype videos.
Yeah.
And he comes up to me and he's like, "Hey Cam, you want to get mic'd up?" And I was like, "Sure, man." Got mic'd up, and got to say it was a blast. And that was a really cold practice too, so got a lot to say.
Yeah. Well, I loved it because one, I mean, I think there's a lot of lessons to be pulled out of there, that we talked about bringing the energy, at one point you're the guy in the huddle sort of leading the crew. I mean, is that kind of, and you mentioned being a leader. I mean, it seems like that's your role. That's you. That's who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like to put that's like kind of an emphasis that I like to say that, just because like I'm not a team captain, and
Right.
just because you're not a team captain doesn't mean that you can play a pivotal role on your team and be a leader. So I'm always just energetic, just ready to go at it. You know, no day's a bad day if you're playing lacrosse.
Mm-hmm. Great point. Great point. What exactly do you say in that huddle?
Bring the juice.
Bring the juice. Bring the juice
Yeah.
on 3. 1, 2, 3. Bring the juice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. All right. That's cool. The other learning point that I really liked, and maybe I'm reading too much into this, but at one point, like, you get scored on, right? Like, you get, like, he puts one by you, and, like, you know, a lot of goalies be like, oh man, I missed it.
Yeah.
You know, like, that's kind of like, that's the attitude, you know, that's very prevalent. And you're like, oh, wow, great one. That one woke me up.
Yeah.
Nice one. Right. Like,
yeah.
So it's, you know, just kind of like, I don't know, it's a different mindset of what to do when you get scored on. And it's not, it's more like, okay,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Talk to me about that if you could.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. I do get frustrated at myself when I do get scored on. I mean, I think every goalie should. It's, you know, it's natural. But there are some times where you're like, just, holy crap, that was a good shot. Like, you can't do nothing to stop that.
Yeah.
And as I've started to play a little bit more and reflect back on this fall, is that it's like, you're a goalie, you are going to get scored on. There's literally only 2 things that you can do: make the save or get scored on. And a lot of the times you're going to get scored on. You know, you never see a goalie with a 1.0% save percentage. Like, you know, it's all very low. And I think it's kind of something that a lot of goalies should take from how I, you know, receive it, is that it's just like, because that was during our warm up with my coaches warming me up. And I think just during the warm up in itself, that's where you should have your fun. You know, you're getting scored on, have a little competition, you know, and just, you know, just try and stay calm and cool and collected. You know, I get frustrated at myself, but I don't necessarily let that anger control how I play on the field. You know, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to ask how you do that, because it's tough. That's so tough, right? You know, all eyes are on you, especially if you're a youth and, like, maybe you're not as, like, emotionally mature as a college aged kid. You get scored on, and, like, you know, all of a sudden you feel like banging, you feel like smacking your stick on the ground or banging against the pipe. I mean, how do you go about personally, you know, how did you learn how to control those emotions? Because it sounds like you're not immune to them. I know I'm not immune to them, right? I don't think any goalie is. It's a matter of, like, how do we control it?
It's funny you mentioned that, because as a youth goalie, I was constantly slamming my stick. I broke a stick head once during a game because of how angry I was getting scored on, have my parents yelling at me to calm down. And but something that I harnessed was, like, the main reason why I had that where that didn't make me confident because I was getting scored on, was because I was thinking about what other people were seeing on the field, what my own thoughts were saying. So, like, for example, when you're at a tryout for a college team and you're getting scored on, you can get frustrated, obviously, and be mad, but that's just because of what you're thinking the coaches are thinking. You're thinking that the coaches are like, oh, he just got scored on, like, that's bad, dock him down a point. When really you don't know what that coach is saying. He's probably just saying, oh, that was a good shot. You know, rather than, you know, you shouldn't bring the entire world's shoulders on you.
Yeah, that's interesting. I heard something very similar from Emily Sterling, a goalie I sponsored, right? And they lost. Maryland women's team lost in the semifinals, and she let up like a goal at, like, the very end. And so she was thinking, like, oh man, like, the entire team is, like, pissed at me because I let in that goal. And then, like, later on, they talked about it, like, as a team, like, the captains kind of talked about it, and, like, nobody mentioned that. Everyone was like, God, I can't believe I missed that ground ball I can't believe I didn't score.
Yeah.
Right. So, like, a lot of times as goalies in our heads, we're thinking that the entire world's against us, when really, like, or our whole team hates us, when really, like, they've all got their own concerns as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's an interesting point you just brought up. And I 100%, yeah, totally agree with that. Cool. What kind of sticking on the topic of mental game, any other like mental game lessons or any other things you think are worth sharing? Yeah, you've learned?
Yeah, I mean, I've just had mental health issues just before in my lifetime. And I, still deal with those today. And it's something that it's obviously a tough battle, and it's going to be a tough battle, but things aren't going to get any better if you're just going to tuck them in and, try and hold them off. Let it out, let it out how you feel, how you're feeling. I remember one big thing for me last year was during fall ball. I couldn't get my medications shipped over from Idaho to New York due to some state laws. And there was a period of time for about a month where I didn't have my medications. And there was one day where I was sitting, I had a bad practice. I was upset at myself, and I was, I'm not the starter. I'm not this. And I just thought to myself, how can I contribute to the team without actually being on the field? And I was like, go back to your roots, to where you were in high school, constantly cheering for your team, constantly communicating and having a good time. And so that's what really propels me as a goalie from a mental standpoint, is that when you're doing those things, naturally your mood is going to get up, and it's going to get up because you're going to love it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Yeah. I'd love to dig into that mental health thing if we could, if you're cool with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Cause I know, I mean, a lot of goalies go through that. The nature of the position, it's like a lot of pressure on the goalie. You win as a team, but a lot of times you lose as a goalie. At least that's what goalies feel. That's how goalies feel anyways. And so Definitely. They put all that pressure on themselves, and then, they don't talk about it. Right. So you're just sitting alone and just, it's eating you up inside, and then, you could have problems. So what is that kind of what you went through? Or it sounds like, you're taking some medications, so maybe it's something different, but I'd love to hear kind of a little bit more, if you could, about, what you went through, because I feel like sharing these stories and talking about it, there might be a young goalie who'd be like, yeah, like, oh yeah, thank you. Like, that's exactly what I'm going through. I didn't realize other goalies were experiencing that as well.
Yeah. And, honestly, where a lot of those feelings, just kind of that sadness, that depression, when I was coming here my first year in the fall season, where it was coming from was just I wasn't performing well. And it sucks to not perform well. Sure. It absolutely does. And so when you seem like that, you start to get this idea in your head, like, what am I doing here? Why does it have to be like this? Why can't I seem to fix it? And you really have to look back on truly why you did come here. The coaches wanted you here, obviously. So that's one reason why you should be at the place you're at. Another thing to think about is, how can I, fix this, like, right now? And that's two, to not be angry at yourself. You can't be angry at yourself for anything that happens on that field. Everybody makes mistakes. And for a third thing, I would just say that it's really just a matter of time. College is a crazy experience in your life. It'll be literally the best and worst moments of your life, but it's, compared to your lifespan, it's going to be the smallest little blip in the world.
Yeah.
Like, it's, it's already flying by for me. I mean, we're already almost in our spring season, and it's literally just, it's going to be the smallest blip. So don't make your problems so that they seem like they're the entire world, because they're not. Every problem can be fixed. And, I really thought that to myself, and I really put in a grind that winter going into my spring season, my freshman year, ended up being the backup, and I had a great time as the backup. It was truly a phenomenal experience, being able to get the playing time that I did have, because then I was like, all I can do is play my best today. That's all I can do. I can't, that scoreboard, don't even look at it. All I can do is just play my best.
Love it. Love it. Yeah. Yeah. One thing that you said there kind of really resonated with me a lot. It's something I've read, like, you know, when you're down, when your mental health is really down and you're going through some stuff, it feels like it's never going to pass. Right. It feels like it's going to be like this forever. And that's how it feels. And, you know, I know a lot of goalies have been there. A lot of goalies have been in that. And you just like, wow, I'm going to be down forever, but guess what? It passes, right? Like you said, it's you know, what you're going through is a very small, slice of your life in the grand scheme of things. And it definitely passes. So I think just knowing that, right. And just hearing someone say that gives you a little bit of a different perspective.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, cool. Are you doing good mentally health wise now?
Oh yeah, I'm great,
man. My man. Let's go.
Our teammates we're all really supportive of each other, and I know I could tell them anything. So it's great.
I was going to ask who, you know, when you need to talk to somebody, who is that for you? It sounds like it's the teammates.
Yeah, definitely. Just my teammates, you know, it is a brotherhood. It's family, you know, it's a matter of that getting instilled to us that we, you know, we have to provide each other's backs for one another. You're only as strong as your weakest link. So by that camaraderie that we have together, it's not only does it help to know that you have someone there for you, but you also got 30 other guys there for you too, that can all give you different perspectives of life and different advice that are all helpful and nothing negative. Yeah,
I love it. Yeah. And sometimes, I mean, they just bring like fresh eyes or a different perspective and just say something that maybe you thought all along, but you know, just hearing someone else say it is like, it kind of like calms you. I was watching a reel I just saw today, like a couple hours ago, actually. And it was JJ Watt. It was JJ Watt, right? And he comes over to this guy in practice. He's like, "How you doing, man?" The guy's like, "No, I'm not doing good." He's like, "Oh, what's wrong?" He's like, "Oh, I dropped the ball." And he's like, "What?" He's like, "Oh, I dropped the ball." He's like, did it hit you in the hands?" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, that's your job. You're supposed to catch the ball." He's like, "Oh, I'm just kidding, man. Is it Wednesday or is it Sunday?" Right? He's like, "It's Wednesday." Yeah, he's like, "All right, well, catch the ball on Sunday, you know, go stay after, catch 10, 15 balls after practice and catch it on Sunday. Forget about it, you know?" But anyway, just some humor and some like a different perspective. I thought that was pretty cool on his part. So, well, cool. Thank you for sharing that. Really, really appreciate it. And the other thing I'll add too is, you know, lacrosse goalies, like we're a very small community as well. And I'm sure, you know, any goalie reaches out to you, I'm sure you'd be happy to help, right?
Oh yeah. One of my biggest things, I love coaching back home.
Nice.
That really helps hit it home for me and training goalies. I just love coaching in general. I love being that mentor for people. I was raised in a family where community service and giving into your community is really important, provide really important roles in your life. And so that's what I absolutely love, you know, giving back to the game that gave to me.
Yeah, love it. Same here. All right. Well, I might have to put you on my Rolodex of Idaho-based coach. Will you go back there in the summer? Or are you going to go back after school?
I'll be going back for Christmas break. Yeah.
Christmas break. Yeah. All right. We'll see. Well, cool. Cam, thank you so much for coming on, sharing your story. This has been awesome. I feel like we hit it all there. Anything else you feel like we missed?
No, man. I mean, goalies just stay hard, man.
Yeah, I love it. Cool. I was going to ask if you could leave the goalies with one final piece of advice, what would that be?
Your many scars don't define you, but rather the story that you went through.
Boom. I love it. Any scars don't
That's the
define
best way to
you.
look at
Rather
it.
story went, yeah. All right. Well, get out there, collect some scars and some stories, huh?
Oh yeah.
All right. Cam, have a good one. And thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yep, you as well. It was a pleasure, Coach Damon.